What's up everybody, and thank you for joining me for another video. My name is Whack4863, but you can call me Whack. I hope you've had a chance to watch the direct from Funcom about Dune Awakening. If you haven't had that opportunity, I will put a link to that video in the description of this video so you can get over and watch it in its entirety. However, I wanted to put together a video talking about what we know about Dune Awakening from the different sources of information that are out there currently on the internet. Much of this information came from the Dune Awakening Direct, but there are some other key things that I think were not explained in that Direct, so I pulled all the information that I can find about Dune Awakening, and I'm going to present that to you in this video. First and foremost, Joel mentions that the betas have been going on for a couple of months, and they're planning on additional betas in the future, and if you want to get involved and possibly be picked for a future beta, head over to their Discord and follow the links that are in their Discord to sign up. Dune Awakening is being developed on Unreal Engine 5, which I think is going to be a phenomenal thing for the game. All the games that I've seen that are being developed or have been developed on Unreal Engine 5 seem to run smoother and have a better feel and look than Unreal Engine 4. Obviously, having the newest, latest, greatest engine for a game is a good thing, so I'm glad that they decided to move it to Unreal Engine 5, as my understanding is that they actually started developing it in Unreal Engine 4 and made the decision to switch at some point in the development process. And they do talk a bit about what that means for the gameplay experience and how lighting is going to work better with Unreal Engine 5 than it would with Unreal Engine 4. Load times are going to be lower, and the impact on your equipment isn't going to be as heavy, but you're still going to get great visuals. Dune Awakening is being developed for PC, PlayStation 5, and Xbox Series X. I couldn't find any information on whether there will be cross-platform play in Dune Awakening. As far as servers go, there are definitely going to be official servers, but there's a possibility that we will see private servers as well. In a message from Joel on the Dune Awakening Discord, he says, as mentioned, private servers are still under discussion. However, I should be clear, it's unlikely we will provide a server client to players to run on their own hardware. So you might be able to rent private servers, but you will be unable to run your own dedicated servers. They're also still discussing the role that mods will play in the Dune Awakening universe. They're not sure whether or not they're going to allow mods at this point in time, but there is also no discussion about if they're going to make a mod creation tool for Dune Awakening. Additionally, there's no plan to release an offline or single-player mode at this time. Now, on their Steam page, Dune Awakening is described as an action-adventure, massively multiplayer RPG. Obviously, it's an MMO with open world survival crafting, and it is online PvP. However, in the Direct, Joel does mention that if you do not want to participate in PvP, there is a way to play the game without actually playing against other players. I was lucky enough to be invited by Funcom to visit LA and see the premiere of Dune 2 early, as well as getting a sneak peek at the Direct. And after we saw the Direct, we were able to ask Joel some pointed questions. And one of the questions that was asked was specifically about PvP, and if you're a PvE player and you don't want to interact with the PvP elements, how are you going to get these really good resources? And I thought that was a really good question. And the way that Joel described it was that there were mechanics set up in the game where you could do other things in the game, like craft blueprints to sell or use resources and sell those, and then buy those higher level items. So there is a mechanic in the game that allows you to play in a strictly PvE area and not have to engage in PvP, which I think is a really cool function. Now, obviously, I'll need to see how that works in game to really give you some idea of whether I like that kind of gameplay or not. But the fact that they've already thought about this and they're working on ways to make all players happy with their gameplay experience, whether you only want to experience the PvE side or if you want to partake in PvP, makes me really hopeful that every player is going to enjoy their experience. Jumping right into the meat and potatoes of what we know is coming to Dune Awakening, there will be a character creator. And as far as I can tell, in this character creator process, not only are you picking the visuals of how you are going to look, but you're also picking your first class. And there are different classes that are available in the game. They went on to talk about the fact that you will be able to learn some different skill sets from the different trainers that are located around the world. So not only are you going to have your own initial set of skills and perks, but you'll also be able to go out and find these trainers and learn some of the perks and skills from those different masters, giving you an even more in-depth and customizable gameplay experience. And on their Steam page, it actually talks about being a specialized master or a multi-talented adept, and I think this is referring to that perk or class system that was mentioned in the Direct. And Joel mentioned 3 different abilities that were in the game under the perk system. One was using the Bene Gesserit voice to actually draw enemies closer to you. Another was to use a grapple hook and get up to a high area to shoot your enemies from afar. And then the last one that he mentioned was a flying knee kick to knock your enemies down and then stab them. And just from these 3 perks that he mentioned, I can already see how you could make and create your own unique gameplay style for combat using a variation of different perks from the trainers. Base building will be a key function of what you're doing in Dune Awakening, obviously building a base to stay out of the harsh environment that is on the planet Arrakis. Not only are you going to be able to base build, but the way that the building was described is that it's a blueprint system where you and your friends can then use the resources individually to build those different parts. So if you're playing with friends, everybody can have a role to play in building that base. You won't have to transfer those resources to a single person to allow them to build it, which brings your group together to communally build your base. And a lot of the buildings and the bases that they've shown really do look stunning. If you look across the different videos that Funcom has published, there are a lot of really cool things going on with the base building system, and I can't wait to get my hands on it. As with any good survival game, there has to be crafting, and it sounds like Funcom has put together a pretty in-depth crafting system, from armor and weapons to different building placeables and even vehicles inside Dune Awakening. One really cool feature that's linked to crafting and base building is the exchange. So as far as I can tell from what they've said, the exchange is an in-game store run by in-game currency that you earn by playing the game, where you'll not only be able to sell weapons that you've crafted or materials that you have, but you can also sell blueprints for your base structure. So if you come up with a really cool design that works uniquely in some way, or people just love the way it's visually presented, you can sell that blueprint or whatever other items you want to sell on the exchange, creating a player-driven economy. The Coriolis Storm is maybe a term that you've heard before, maybe not. Basically, the mechanic for this is that there is a storm that changes the map on a weekly basis, refreshing that area, uncovering new and exciting things, and covering up things that were there before. Additionally, this will wipe any player-built bases that are in that area. Now, the area where the Coriolis Storm happens on a weekly basis is a PvP area, which means there isn't going to be a chance for blocking the map for an extended period of time. Anybody that wants to put that much time and effort into blocking off a section of the map is going to find that all that time and effort was for nothing, because it's simply going to go away when the Coriolis Storm wipes it. Now again, this is just in the deep desert PvP area, and the PvE areas, as far as I can tell, will be safe to build in, and your base will not get wiped on a regular basis. Now, with most survival games, they require you to take care of your character in some way. This may be eating or drinking or a combination of both. Dune Awakening appears to be heavily leaning towards drinking. Obviously, the lack of water on the desert sands of Arrakis is going to make drinking a very difficult survival mechanic. And Joel talks about using the dew off of plants and eating those plants in order to get hydrated, and then he goes on to talk about exsanguinating your enemies and drinking their blood. Now, I feel like he was talking about this as an early gameplay loop, and as you progress through the gameplay and level up, you'll actually have easier or better ways to satisfy your hydration needs. There's also a big emphasis placed on when you go out to gather certain resources, talking about just the heat of the sun. So obviously, if you're out in the sun and it's burning hot, you're going to be dehydrated quicker, meaning that you're going to have to care for your character more often, just adding to the complexity of the survival system. So you may end up having a route that you choose to go out during the day and you duck from dark shade to dark shade in order to not get dehydrated, or you may end up finding yourself just going out at night and not have to use the precious resource of water as much because you're not getting dehydrated. Let's talk about sandworms, and honestly I was really hoping to hear something about a mechanic of possibly riding a sandworm, but that was not what we heard, so we'll have to wait and see if in the future that's something that we're able to do. However, Joel did mention sandworms, and he said there was one rule when it came to sandworms, and that's that they will always come. And he talked about sandworms in a way that they were designed to create tension and stress in the game. So they're ever present, and you could find yourself in a situation where you're being chased down by a sandworm, and the only way to get around that is to outrun them and make it to a rocky outcrop. He also talked about the size of the sandworms, that there were little sandworms and that there were very large sandworms, and depending on where you were on the map, that's the size of sandworm you were going to have to contend with. And that makes me feel like the game and the map is designed in a way that's going to push you across areas where sandworms are present, and they are going to always come when you go across those areas, so you're going to have to be very careful when traversing the map. He also went on to talk about the fact that you cannot defeat sandworms. These are not something where players can engage in combat and defeat a sandworm. It's simply not possible to kill them. And I think that's why we see so many different vehicles in the game. So it looks like there are ground vehicles like the sand bikes and the larger motor vehicles, and then ornithopters as well, where we're actually going to be able to fly over the sands of Arrakis. And I'm really happy about the fact that I'm not just going to have to run around the entire time on the map. There is a faster or better mode of transportation in the game. Politics are going to play a large role in Dune Awakening, and the way that it was described is as you get towards late game, your gameplay shifts a little bit from surviving the elements to surviving the political landscape that is in the Dune universe. There's mention of quests for factions or houses that you can partake in, but there's always multiple sides that are trying to complete that quest for themselves. And this is another area where PvP would come into play. You are competing against another clan or another group or another faction, and maybe it's not even face-to-face combat, but you're racing to get this quest done in the fastest possible manner or in the best possible manner in order to win the favor from the houses so that you can gain more political power on Arrakis. And this is an interesting concept where not only do we have a player-driven economy, we could see player-driven politics in Dune Awakening, which would just add another level of survival to the game. All in all, I feel like we've just gotten a taste of what's going to be in store with Dune Awakening. And I'm really excited to see more information coming out about the game as we move closer and closer to the official release date, which currently hasn't been set, but you can continue to watch my channel for more and more news as I plan to continue to cover Dune Awakening as it progresses to release. Don't forget to whack the like button on the way out and let me know in the comment section below, are you excited for Dune Awakening? I'd like to thank all my YouTube members for their continued support. Y'all are absolute legends. If you want more information on becoming a YouTube member, click the join button below this video. Memberships start as low as $1.99 a month.